At the outbreak of the First World War in 1914, many First Nations people felt the desire to enlist. This desire was greeted with surprise by the rest of Canada, as the First Nations people had suffered at the hands of the government for so long. Many First Nations groups viewed warfare as a part of traditional life, not as a means of wiping out another tribe or people, but as a way of acquiring personal accomplishment and respect. Because First Nations people were considered wards of the government, they did not have the rights and responsibilities of citizens. As a result, they were not expected to join, and anyone who did join did it voluntarily.
In total, around 4,000 or 35% of the Aboriginal male population in Canada volunteered to go overseas. Due to their skills as hunters and their wildlife experience, many Aboriginal soldiers were excellent infantry, particularly snipers. Their ability to adapt, deserve, stamina, and courage often led them to excel over other fighting forces. A challenge for many Aboriginal recruits was their inability to speak English. Although this was an initial challenge, with the use of interpreters and through self-learning, this helped alleviate their language barrier. Over 300 Aboriginal soldiers did not return home, and while hundreds more were wounded physically and mentally.
After World War I, Native people who served their country hoped that with sacrifices and achievements on the battlefield, it would result in greater recognition by the Canadian government as opposed to the beginning of the war. Some veterans who returned home also brought diseases such as tuberculosis, which they obtained from conditions in the trenches and unintentionally introduced them to their communities. Other veterans who returned home lost their Indian status and were denied War Veterans Allowance Act benefits. Federal policies did extend post-war to Aboriginal people, but not to the extent of non-Aboriginals. Many Native people became politically active in the protection of their communities and the advancement of rights for the First Nation people. As a nation, we should remember and acknowledge all residents who sacrificed much in defense of our country, regardless of their origin.